The following program is a podcast1.com production. He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're gonna take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is the Steve Austin Show. Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. Sitting here in the rental crib at 317 Gimmick Street. Right next to my illustrious wife, Kristen. Now, I was back here in this bedroom, Kristen, and there's only a chair here. It's a single chair. I got a little ottoman that you got on Amazon. I got my Pearl Beer neon clock on the floor. And there's a lamp on the floor. And there's a couple of shades hanging in front of the windows here. And I stepped this room off a while ago. It's 11 feet by 10 feet. That is my podcast space. I ain't even got a table up in this sumbitch. And then you come in, because I've been struggling here to come up with an open after running my errands, going to get some gas in my Bronco, all the idiots out there on the streets of Los Angeles not using their blinkers. And I come back, and you damn near want to sit on my lap on this chair, and there ain't enough room for the both of us. Can I go outside and get you a lawn chair or something like that?
No, because you want me to sit on the ottoman, and I'm not going to sit on the ottoman.
Shit, I mean, I just sat on the ottoman. You can have a damn chair. We've been married, we've been together for about 12 years, married for almost 8. We don't really sit this close too much anymore. That's the truth.
Well, it's the day after Valentine's. I'm feeling low.
Oh, man, I felt like, I really felt like shit yesterday because I called thebooks.com and I was going to order some flowers, but I forgot to. And this is, one of my spots on my podcast. I told everybody, hey, don't get in the doghouse. Now, shit, I'm in the doghouse. Were you mad at me that I didn't get you no flowers yesterday? Because you actually got me a card.
And some chocolate.
Oh, she got me 2 Reese's peanut butter cups in the shape of a heart, and I ate both of those sumbitches. They were good. I busted my diet for them, but they were good. So anyway, I was talking about keeping people out of the doghouse, and I didn't order you any flowers. I didn't get a card. I didn't get you nothing. Are you disappointed?
No, I'm not too disappointed.
You're not too disappointed. So you're somewhat disappointed I didn't do a goddamn thing.
Actually, it doesn't really bother me at all.
So, but we don't really do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if it is, it's kind of like it's cool, but... I thought about making you one. Get a piece of notebook paper, fold it in half,
You've done that before.
Yeah, when I was too stupid to go buy something properly at the damn store. But, it was from El Corazon, the heart. That's Spanish for the heart.
Well, I did do some online shopping yesterday, so you technically did buy me something.
Well, what did we buy?
I bought myself a new pair of shoes.
Okay, that's a good Valentine's gift, ain't it?
Good, yeah.
Yeah. Put your shoes on and go do some shopping. Goddamn refrigerator in there's chock full of stuff, and there ain't nothing in there that I eat. What's the deal with that? It's the skinniest full-size refrigerator I've ever seen in my damn life. You got to put everything in there sideways.
Plus my Blue Apron stuff.
I tell you what, Blue Apron's one of the sponsors of this podcast. My wife's having a field day with this shit.
Yes, I am.
What do you like so much about the Blue Apron?
I like it because you don't have to measure anything out. It's all measured and done for you. You just mix it all together and you have a dinner. It
is so simple, and that's a shoot. Everything that comes in there, you just put it in, and it works.
Yeah.
Even I can get it right.
You could.
But, I kind of like, I just do my one course. Well, I do my 2-course meals. I'm a protein and carb guy.
Yeah, but I'm doing the vegetarian option on Blue Apron, so.
Oh, so they got a vegetarian option.
Yeah.
That stuff that I had the other day we used pretty good.
Let's see which one. Oh, yeah, that's
pasta. It was pasta
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it was good.
Pretty good. Anyway, I was sitting there talking about Blue Apron. I was talking about Valentine's Day.
Well, why don't you go over to Walgreens today and get me some Reese's Peanut Butter Hearts because they're 50% off today.
Because you ain't going to eat them. And I'll end up eating them.
Okay.
It'll be about 2 in the morning. I'll be on my little zombie patrol, and I'll go in there. My willpower will be like at an all-time low, and I'll scarf those motherfuckers down. That's why I ain't going to go buy you some. And here's the thing. When I do get you some and you hide them, sometimes I'm about 500 because sometimes I find them, sometimes I don't. And sometimes I'm glad I don't. But sometimes I'm frustrated when I don't.
And we're in this new place, so you wouldn't even know where I would hide anything.
No, we got so much shit next door from the remodel. They're putting in this garage because the mud guys there, they're putting all the shit, the mud, stucco, whatever it's called, getting all the walls
skimmed,
skim coat. make them all a smooth texture. And they brought all this shit. And we had one of my gun safes brought over here. Your piano was over here. The dining room table is over here. So we ain't barely got any room to put anything in.
And the garage is already...
Yeah, so by the time I go out
2
there
feet
and
by
look,
3 feet.
Yeah, that is like, you've heard of a one-car garage? This is a chute. It's a one-car garage. And when you pull in that motherfucker, you might not have room to open your door and get out. You probably have to crawl out Dukes of Hazzard style through the damn open window.
It's not even a one-car garage. It's more like a motorcycle garage.
Yeah, I can put my little scooter in there. Son of a bitch. This place is starting to get on my nerves. I mean, I've settled in. It's kind of our home now, and it will be till about April, middle of April, whatever hell it's going to be. Have you talked to Randy, the contractor, and got some 411 about when we're going to be able to move back into our house? Because it's looking really nice over there. It's very open. The granite guys still got to do all the counters. I mean, there's a shit ton of work to still be done. But what's the ETA?
I don't know. It changes every single week, so...
Do you want me to buy you another chair so you can sit in here and do a podcast with me or what?
No, I'm fine.
You know, I got some pretty cool people coming up on a podcast, but it's not like really I got a place to podcast. Hunter McIntyre came over the other day, and I dragged the table into here, and I had to turn it sideways and get it through the door, and that was a pain in the ass. I think I'm going to talk to one of the Five Finger Death Punch guys. And who the hell else am I talking to? I talked to some other...
bodybuilder.
Oh, no. Tom Finn, the powerlifter's coming by in a couple of weeks. No, next week he comes by. I see him all the time on Instagram and Twitter doing all kinds of crazy feats of strength. I think that guy's got a couple screws loose. He might need to get into the business of pro wrestling. What's so funny? My wife did not know me when I was in the business of professional
Thank
wrestling.
Goodness.
And sometimes when people send me stuff on questions at steveaustonshow.com, and I'll play the YouTube video link, and she'll look at it and she'll shake her hand and goes, "Man, you were crazy back then."
Yeah, you were.
Well, but I've mellowed out. I ain't crazy no more, right?
You're just crazy in the head now.
Crazy in the head. What's that supposed to mean?
Like you were physically crazy in the WWE.
Okay. So now
well, and mentally too, actually. Now it's just a single layer of craziness.
But you with your special education background, I think that's what makes us such a good 1-2 combination.
Well, I'll take it.
Okay. So what's on your schedule today? You done?
Well, I had to take Hershey and Mula to the vet.
How's Hershey doing?
She's getting better because she had that pneumonia. I still have to keep her on antibiotics for another probably 2 weeks. So if it doesn't,
the longest case of pneumonia I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, well, she had that bout of sort of pancreatitis that one week because somebody left the egg yolks in the garbage for her to get to.
I didn't expect the dog at 12 years of age to get into the damn trash can because she never was really a trash dog.
Well,
nonetheless, it flared up, and so anyway,
she ate 12 egg yolks.
Yeah. So the high fat content threw her pancreas into a cattywampus state, and she had to take some antibiotics for that on top of the walking pneumonia. Well, how's Mula? Her ear infection gone?
Ear infection's gone, all cleared.
We've got a nice, healthy, happy family over here in this house.
Yeah, we're sitting so close to each other looking out this window.
I'm going to need a shoehorn to get out of this bitch. A shoehorn or a crowbar. I'm going to have to call 911 to get the paramedics to come over here with the fire truck, go through the window, and wedge me out of here. We might be stuck here. People will come here in like a year, and there'll be two skeletons sitting here with microphones in their hands. Yep, looks like this is where they recorded their final podcast. No, but it feels good to be so close to you, baby. What are you doing? My wife is rubbing on my head. Are you trying to seduce me?
I don't have a choice but to rub on your head because you're so close. I can't put my arm anywhere else.
It's one of those weird feelings where it's like, hey, man, when you have to be sitting, we're married, but sometimes when you're sitting so close to somebody, you got to put your arm around.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, just make sure you don't touch that person. You can touch me because I'm actually your husband, but you know the situation I'm talking about. Oh, man, I wish I had something to talk about. Man, I went to the gas station a while ago, and I was feeling kind of trying to get my creative energy up for the podcast. I tell you what, I put in my CD player, Pantera cover of Cat Scratch Fever, and blasted that thing on repeat. So I got about 8 doses of it at about 150 decibels because of that 95 Ford Bronco I got. I got a pretty badass sound system with a sub in the back and all that shit. So I was wound up pretty good. And then I go over to the gas station on the corner of Lincoln and Venice, and there's this dipshit in there in a damn black Audi, and he's got his glasses on. He's just sitting there texting.
Audi seems to be like the hipster car now.
What is the hipster car? And it's a fine automobile, but this guy just sitting there. So I give him I'm looking at it through the windshield, like I'm kind of giving that the heads up look, like, hey, I'm pulling up into this pump. You're facing the way that I'm coming. So I'm giving you a chance, since you're fiddle fucking on your phone and you don't have the hose in your gas tank, you're done. I'm giving you a chance to go through and pass me by here on my passenger side. Of course, this goofy motherfucker keeps looking at his phone, so I pull right up to him about 2 inches from his bumper, get out, and start gassing my damn Bronco up. And, of course, finally, he has enough wherewithal to back out. It's like, I don't understand. People are such shitty drivers, and everybody got their head up their ass these days over these goddamn smartphones.
Well, look on the bright side. He wasn't driving and texting.
No, he wasn't. But I told him, I'm trying to give him a heads up because, the gas receptacle on the Ford Bronco is on the left rear quarter panel, so I got to pull all the way up. And he's, gas tank is at the back of his vehicle, so he's pulled up like our vehicle's about to start kissing. And mine's going to win that contest because I'm four-wheel drive. I'm riding up a little bit higher than him. So it's like, hey, man, I'm trying to give you some courtesy here. Work with me. Fucking people. I don't get it.
Well, I did see an article this morning, something about millennials. They did a research or a study that millennials are poor drivers and or drivers that don't have much regard for other drivers.
They don't give a fuck. The younger set doesn't give a fuck. I don't understand it. The millennials. I'd never heard the word millennials till I did that podcast about a year and a half ago with Vince McMahon. But now I get it. They're not talking. I got a lot of millennials that listen to the Steve Austin show. So I ain't ragging everybody, but hell, even if you and I would still be considered in the baby boomer section of people. That we were, or I was right on the cutoff date. You might actually be a millennial, but I'm a baby boomer.
I'm not a millennial. I'm just one young.
Well, I mean, you're kind of lazy. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but
I'll take more offense to that than not getting Valentine's Day flowers.
No, they're baby boomers that are just as lazy as everybody else. So I don't think you can just put it on an entire generation. But I'll tell you what, back in the old days, I mean, like when we grew up in Edna, Texas, if you didn't work your goddamn ass, well, bottom line was you were going to work your ass up because that's kind of household we got brought up in.
Well, you know what I noticed when I go to my mom's house? She lives in a 55 and older senior community, but most of the seniors there have their adult children living with them, which is strange because I would never move in with my mother.
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's the fucked up thing about California. It's so expensive here, I can almost get it. Like when I came here from Texas 12 years ago and I saw the sticker prices on everything, I said, holy shit, are these motherfuckers crazy? And when these people move over to Texas or Nevada or some of the other states, they think everything's real cheap. So they drive the prices up because to them it is cheap compared to what they're paying in California. So I don't know how someone would come to this town, buy a crib, and just like on the west side, or in, just the normal towns, Venice, Marina del Rey, Santa Monica is very expensive, or Burbank. Had a couple of buddies live over in Burbank, but even shit over there's through the fucking roof. You can't find nothing here for damn near less than $1 million. You're going to pay, well, you got a close associate that just bought a crib, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, cost $700,000.
Who bought that?
Your friend.
Oh, yeah, Amy did, yeah.
Well, you ain't got to mention her name.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Amy.
So anyway, but I mean, 700 G's.
Yeah, it's a lot of damn money.
For a 2-bedroom, 1-bath crib with a 4,000 square foot yard.
Yeah.
Not a 4,000 square foot house, a 4,000 square foot yard. So
the entire lot's 4,000, including the house.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So like I said, man, I just don't know how people make it over here.
And that was affordable for her.
Yeah, I mean, you got lucky. You bought your house back in '99 when the getting was good. I mean, we bought.
But it wasn't good when I was buying it.
Well, I know.
I mean, I could still barely afford it.
Yeah, but like when we brought 316 Gimmick Street, I mean, we bought on the high side, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to get back in wrestling. Shit. Well, anyway, talk about the price of housing over here. Is anything going on in your world? You want to promote your Twitter account?
Yeah.
Hey, did you know that today is my second part of my conversation with Paul Roma?
No, I didn't.
You don't know who Paul Roma is, do you?
No.
But you don't know who anybody is in professional wrestling. Paul Roma's a guy I used to work with way back in the day, and he got into WWF. In about 84, 85, we already covered this part of our conversation last time I talked to him. Got part of a tag team as the Young Stallions. Him and his partner didn't get along. His partner was showing up to work drunk and stuff like that. Paul was having to work 3/4, 90% of the damn match. Everybody got tired of the other guy showing up blasted. So then he gets in with a real cool guy, Hercules, Ray Hernandez. He was a good dude. I always liked talking to him. Big-ass physique. They were a great tag team. They should have had a lot better run than they did. And then he goes back into a singles role. They fire him. Or he leaves. He leaves WWF. He leaves WWF, comes down to WCW. And, that's when me and Paul had a couple singles matches, had some tag matches. As a matter of fact, back when I was part of the Hollywood Blondes, Kristen, we were the World Tag Team Champions, myself and Brian Pillman. Well, Brian was injured one particular night, and my good buddy, Lord Steven Regal, filled in for Brian, and Arn Anderson and Paul Roma beat us for the belts that night.
Huh.
So I guess you got kind of a grudge against him since he stole my damn title belt. Paul, I want my motherfucking belt back. That was a long time ago.
Does he still have it?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
No. So Paul he's in the Connecticut area now. And he was my guest on the show last Thursday. We got started about halfway through his story and talking about Power and Glory. Now we're going to talk about some other things, to talk about some WCW stuff. But, hey, I'm going to take care of some business here. I appreciate you joining in and helping me out on the podcast, Kristen.
Well, will you help me get out of the chair?
After I finish doing my open, before we get to the second part of my conversation with Paul Roma, and I extricate myself from this chair with my wife, if you're looking for some help in jumpstarting your health and fitness plan, listen, Kristen, look no further than Diamond Dallas Page and his DDPY program. Kristen, this could be right up your alley. Dallas knows how hard it is to get on that path to healthier living and stick to it. Nudge, nudge. That's why he created the DDPY program, which is more than just a workout, Kristen. Dallas is giving you all the tools and information you need to eat better, exercise, and monitor your progress. Hello. He also offers plenty of his own personal motivation. You know how positive that guy is. And right now, he's offering y'all 25% off the DDPY DVDs. 25%. You know how you love to save money, Kristen. So he's offering 25% off the DDPY DVDs, the DDP Yoga Now app, and all DDPY swag. And you can get 25% off T-shirts, mats, heart monitors, hats, and more. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin. And hey, Kristen, that's not all. If you buy the DDP Max Pack today, you'll get 50% off your second copy. So that's 50% off the 25% off you're already getting. Now, you're pretty smart. That's huge savings, right?
Sounds to me like it is.
Okay, of course it is. So if you buy the DDPY DVDs for 25% off, you still get 3 free months of the DDP Yoga Now app. Latest, greatest, state-of-the-art technology. Dallas' program has already helped thousands of people, and not just pro wrestlers like Scott Hall, Jake the Snake, and Mick Foley. We can put your name on there too, Kristen. DDPY helped disabled veteran Arthur Borman and literally thousands of people just like you and me get on the path to healthier living. So take control of your own health and fitness. Get on the DDPY program today and take advantage of this huge sale. 25% off DDPY and all related merch at ddpyoga.com/Austin. One more time, if you didn't hear me or if you thought I stuttered, that's ddpyoga.com/Austin.
There you go.
Shit.
Everybody knows that February is the shortest month of the year. But at Podcast One, we aren't taking any breaks. We've got a boatload of new shows coming your way this month. Like 2 from Forbes, Under 30, and The List. Or Postmortem with Mick Garris. And Clipcast, the official, unofficial podcast of the LA Clippers. But we're not done. Still to come this month, The Raven Effect from pro wrestler Raven. A little bit of Growing the Dynasty with Jeff and Jessica Robertson. Plus, in upcoming weeks, shows from Kim Zolciak, Dina Tori Spelling, The Retronauts, and many more. To get more details, go to podcastone.com now. Podcastone.com. This is Steve Austin Unleashed.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Well, I want to ask you a little bit about Power and Glory.
Sure.
Your pacing in the ring, man, even from your green days, you were never a guy that rushed anything from the early tape that I was able to get on you through YouTube. But in particular, like when you were a young stallion, Power and Glory, Pretty Wonderful, anytime you were single, you never rushed anything. Your pacing in the ring, you could hit the gas pedal, you were athletic, do high spots and stuff like that. How did you learn at such a early age the pacing that you had? You were deliberate. If you were a heel, you were in stalking mode. You were physical, great working punch. All your shit looked good. You laid it in, but you weren't crushing people. But tell me about your pacing, because I don't see you fumbling around for a bunch of shit. You everything that you did meant something, And as you know, Paul, one of the biggest mistakes green guys make is rushing things. I did it for about a year and a half, maybe 2, 3, maybe even more. Did Tony Altomar teach you that? Was that a Fuji or Harley?
No.
Who was that?
It came from my kickboxing.
Really?
My fighting. It's a stock method. Like if I go into a restaurant, even today, I'll size people up in there. If something is to happen, I know if it's that guy, then I know what I'm going to do to take him out, and that's how I worked it in the ring. I worked it as a shoot, but I know it was a work, so I could turn it on, turn the jets on at any time. But my whole method behind it was to size up my opponent. And that's how I did it. Almost like an animal stalking their prey, and that's how I look at them.
How long did it take you to pick up the business? I mean, I know we talked about when the light went on, but now with respect to your fighting background or your kickboxing stuff, the light went on for you, but from a mechanical standpoint, did you grab a hold of the business at a rapid pace?
Well, some people would say 6 weeks.
And you would say?
I would say at least 8, but
8 weeks? 8 weeks in the business?
That I had everything down and moving, and then I started, bringing things up to a higher level. Guys couldn't understand what I was doing at the school because they didn't have the athleticism. So when I was, doing things, trying things, like the straddles, running over people like a hurdle, catching a backflip off a backdrop, just different things like that. Someone give me a monkey flip, me landed on my feet. I say, hey, listen, monkey flip me, I'm going to land on my feet, and I try that and different things.
Well, take me back to your kickboxing or your fighting background. When did you start that stuff?
I kickboxed, I don't know, I had to be 16, 17, 18 in that area, about 16. A fighter, Matty Malisi, tremendous. I mean, he was like a Bruce Lee. Guy was like 135 pounds. I was 245. I could put my foot over my head, in a full stretch. And when this guy hit you, I mean, you felt all of 135 and then some. I was only allowed to fight the black belts because I was taking out everybody in the class. I get them in a compromising position, and then I let them know that I had them, and then I back off. So I had to fight the instructors because, they couldn't even leg sweep me off my feet.
Wait, okay, here's the thing.
I enjoyed it, man.
But I've heard some stories of guys taking a couple of shots at you, and you told a guy, hey, man, I really don't want to do this. And as long as you've been in the business, and in some of those Wild West days back in New York, or, even back in WCW, those were still kind of the Wild West days, in the early 90s. So how did it come to be that, I never heard of you getting in a scuffle with any of the boys?
No, like I told you before, I think they feared me or they respected me, but either one for me was good. I didn't want to fight. My biggest fear is what I'm capable of doing. So, when I was in New York, I got in not really a fight, but we were in Rosemont, and Coco Beware said I said something about him, and I said I thought he was joking, and he started cussing at me, and I was like, dude, relax, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, and he punched me in the face, and I stood there, and for me, if I punch you in your face, Steve, and you don't go down, chances are I'm going to apologize to you and tell you I'm sorry. I don't know what happened, where it came from, because if I can't take you out, I hit you like that, I got to figure you're tough, man, So he punched me in my face, and I told him, listen, dude, I said, I don't want to fight. I said, I don't want to get fired. I said, so please, enough. So he punched me 2 more times in the face, and I'm like, you know what, I got to stop this guy before, I don't want to hurt him. So I just grabbed him and kind of tucked his head by my side, put my arm over his head and tucked it by my side. And, then I'm standing there, and I feel him biting me. I'm like, this son of a bitch is biting me. And I'm that calm about the whole thing. I mean, I'm trying to stay as calm as possible. So I said, well, let me, like, pull him down. If I could pull him down, then I could just kind of, like, hold him down. So when I went to pull him, I just slipped, and I ended up on my back, and he was on top of me. And I said, all right, well, we got to take this out of, we got to get him off because this is not a good position to be in. So I got him off me, and he's like, I'm going to kick your ass. And I'm standing there saying to myself, you just punched me 3 times in the face. You can't kick my ass. What is it you're not getting? So I gave him a quick bip with a left, and it stopped him. It just stopped him in his tracks. And Lanza jumped in, and I was trying to keep Lanza in between us. So then, he starts crying, I'm going to go to the office, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, here goes my job. This guy's going to bitch. They're giving him the push. So then I said, well, you know what? I'm going to get fired. What the hell? So I went downstairs to where he was had his own room. And I knocked on the door, and he said, who is that? I said, it's Roma. Open up. I'm going to kick the shit out of you. So he goes, fuck off. I'm going to the office tomorrow. I said, open up the door, and I threw in a few choice words. I said, I'm going to beat the living shit out of you, dude. Open up the door, man, So he's like, nah, go away, go away. So I walked away. Pat grabbed me the next day and said, can I talk to you? I said, yeah, what's up? He says, I heard you got in a fight last night. I said, I didn't get in a fight. And he looked at me startled. I was like, what do you mean you get in a fight? I said, I didn't get in a fight. You got in a fight with Coco last night. I said, no, I didn't, Pat. I said, Coco punched me like 3 times in the face. I said, but I don't consider that fighting. I didn't really hit him back. So he looked at me dumbfounded. He's like, well, I guess. I said, yeah. I said, so you know what? I don't think there's anything to talk about because I didn't fight him. So he let me go, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then we got on a plane probably a week or 2 later. And Coco's sitting in the back, and I went walking back there. And the boys are like, oh, shit, here it goes, right? And I walk back, and he looks up at me, he goes, hey, man. He goes, sorry about that. And I said, about what? He goes, what happened in Chicago? I said, that's all right, dude. There's nothing you could do to hurt me. And then I just walked away and sat down. I figured that would, get him riled up, but nah, he wouldn't jump. So, no big deal. But anyway, yeah, I'm just afraid of, what I could do to somebody. I know how, disturbed I get. I know what kind of punches I can take, especially from kickboxing. I mean, they give you those kicks in the head and the face, and you just keep coming. And that's why I had to fight the instructors because, I had 4 friends that joined the class with me, and they wouldn't fight me. And 2 of them were cops, and they would not fight me.
Are you an MMA fan?
Not a great fan of it. Once in a while, I'll watch it if it's on, like late night.
So it was your idea to come up with Power and Glory?
Yes.
Because they weren't doing that with you. They weren't doing that with Ray. So you run this idea by them, and then you pitch it to the office.
Yeah.
I remember when you guys hooked up because you had a great look. Because I like Ray when he was Hercules. I like you from your work. And then to me, Young Stallions was good. Because I remember you guys are an athletic, good-looking tag team. I didn't know about Jim's issues, whatever. Y'all disappear. But I thought when you guys come up with Power and Glory and going back, I think WWF missed out on a major run with you guys. Because they did some good – y'all did some good things with some good people. But to me, y'all were a main event, high-level tag team that they should put the gas pedal to. Do you feel the same way?
Without a doubt. Even the Hart Foundation said it. He said, there's nobody better than you guys. Bret Hart told me one day, he goes, you guys are great. You're the best tag team I've ever seen. And he goes, it's a shame they're not giving you a push. We beat the Hart Foundation in Nassau Coliseum for the belts. And then they immediately took the belts away from us and said, that we cheated. That was obviously the angle. It was deafening in that place. The people cheered, and I turned to Ray and I was like, "Holy shit, man!" I said, "You hearing this?" I said, "They're cheering us. We're the fucking heels. They're cheering us. They're cheering us over the Hart Foundation, dude." I said, "We're over, man." And then they took the belts, and Ray looks at me and he says, "You'll never see those belts again." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "We'll never see those belts again." And he was right.
Why do you think that was? What was it?
I think that I created Power and Glory, and The Office didn't. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. I think that Vince, like he did with Luger, he'll pour a million, 100 million, whatever he needs to do to get somebody over, and he wants to make it work. Not that he could with Luger because he just didn't have any charisma, but that's another story. But he didn't create us, and we were over. I said, why don't we get Power and Glory shirts? And he said, heel stuff doesn't sell. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'll tell you what, Vince, how about if I bankroll it and Ray and I keep the money from what we sell? And he goes, well, let me think about it. And then that was it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, we had a good run. I mean, not a great run.
No, it wasn't a great run, but they didn't put the gas behind you. The run was what it was, but by all accounts, with the combination, the chemistry that you guys had together, him the power guy, you the finesse guy, the move guy, the good-looking guy, he's the heater, strong.
Yep.
Dude, it was just a perfect combination. And with your athletic ability, you hit the gas pedal. I mean, and Ray could do great dynamic stuff anyway. But I just thought that it was a great tag team that it was one of those things that could have been a lot greater than what it was if they'd have just lit it up. You brought up a name, Lex Luger. Were you there for the whole Lex Express?
No, I wasn't.
Well, what happened? You brought that name up. A lack of charisma. What was his problem when he went to New York?
I never spoke to anybody after that, as far as, what was going on and, why this wasn't working, why that wasn't working. He didn't have it. He just, you have it. He didn't have it. Vince could put $1,000 behind you and he can get you, I should say he could get you over. You can get over. You're likable. You have a personality. Baby face, heel, it doesn't matter. People are going to love you. They're going to hate you. They're going to love to hate you. Luger didn't have that. He was just that guy. He wasn't he wasn't a good looking guy. I'll tell you if a guy's good looking. He wasn't a good looking guy. He was a big man, decent body, but he had no charm. And no matter how much money Vince put behind him, it didn't matter.
He really had a hard time connecting with the people. I think when he was down there in World Championship Wrestling, working with Flair every night, Jesus Christ, I don't know, was that 88 or whenever it was? I can't remember. It's been so long ago. Or it wasn't later. It might have been 88. Yeah, it was in that era. But, I mean, working with Flair for 2 years, and Flair got him over about as high as he was going to get over. And then I remember him leaving. I remember his whole run there. I watched it from afar. And then I remember when he went to New York, and I was going to wonder what they were going to do with him. But, I'm not speaking badly of the man or talking behind his back. But, Ric Flair got him over down in WCW. But, that was what Ric Flair did. And he came back to New York, and, man, they built that Lex Express, and they really bankrolled him. Man, he just couldn't, going back to trying to play this podcast for your students, he really couldn't identify, or the people, in my opinion, couldn't identify with who or what he was. Whether, you're working heel, Paul, or whether you're working baby, you've got to establish a relationship with that crowd. You're not selling yourself, but you're trying to get over in the form of love or hate. And he to me, he generated neither.
Yeah, he doesn't have that it factor. He just doesn't have it. Again, people think that I hate Ric Flair. I don't hate Ric Flair. I try to tell people, they ask me, how was it, work as a horseman? I said, it was very confusing. When I was with Arn, everything was fine. When Rick stepped into the picture, he confused the hell out of me. We don't do this. We do that. We don't do that. We don't do this. We don't do that. And after a while, I was like, you know what? I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. You don't do this. You don't do that. You're picking on petty shit. You want me to go out there and beat the shit out of somebody? I can do that. Is that what you guys want? Well, no. Well, then what do you want? Well, we're not heels and we're not baby faces. Okay. And we don't do this. And we don't do that. If you're going to do that, do that. It is what it is.
Hey, man, well, okay, let's come back to that. But let's close out WWF. why did you leave the WWF?
We were in France, Ray and I, and they were putting us in single matches. So I went up to Pat Patterson. I said, hey, Pat, I said, what's going on, man? I said, you're splitting Ray and me up. Like, you know, you're beating my big man out there, and you beat my big man. We're no good anymore. So he goes, oh, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry. I said, well, I am worried about it, Pat. I said, because, you know, I mean, what the hell? Why are we doing singles? Well, you know, we're going to do some stuff. You know, don't worry, though. We're going to take care of you. I said, well, take care of me. I said, well, what about Ray? Well, he'll be okay. I said, he'll be okay. Okay doesn't work for me. I said, you know, you're splitting us up. This is bullshit. I said, you know what, Pat? I'm done. And he goes, what? I said, I'm done. I had enough of this. So he goes, no, listen, you know, you're going to be going home tomorrow. Think about it. I said, no, think about it. I'm telling you right now, I'm done. So I walk. So I go into Vince's office after I get back to the States. I sit down with him. I tell him. He got all heated. You know, I told him, I said, you know, I said, I gave my balls to you, man. I said, nobody worked as hard as I worked with the injuries that I had. I said, now you got guys that get a hangnail, they're out for a week. And then Vince started screaming, you know, I took care of you. I said, you took care of me. I said, I could have lost my arm in that WrestleMania. And I still went out there because you begged me to go out there because we were wrestling against Demolition. I said, Ray had a torn groin. He re-tore it the night before. He could hardly move. I said, my elbow, they told me in the hospital I could lose it if I land on it, yet I still went out there for you. You took care of me? You do shit for me. So he swelled up, you know, then started swelling up. And I said, you better sit your ass down. I ain't fucking playing with you. And he was at the other end of the table. I said, I'm done. I said, so have a good life, basically, you know, on my way. Walked out the door, never looked back. That was it.
Goddamn. What was the deal with your arm? What was the arm injury?
I messed up my elbow. So I went to the hospital and they said, listen, if you land on this elbow, there's a good chance you could lose your arm. And I was like, okay. So I went back, obviously my arm in a sling that they put it in. And Vince was in a meeting and they called him out of it. And he saw me in the sling and he's like, you know, what the hell is this? And I said, I got to talk to you, man. And I told him what they told me. And he was like, please, Paul, please, I need you in this match. You know, that's why they cut the Demolition match down to like 1 minute. Because we were both a mess. And then they're like, you know, can you take that off his shoulders? And I'm like, holy shit. You know, I'm like, yeah, I guess. So I went out and bought a rollerblade or a skater's elbow pad. We padded it all up, put it on my arm, took the bump, tried to land a little, you know, cockeyed, so I won't land on the arm. And then when I got back to the locker room, they had a doctor waiting, and he took 30 cc's of fluid out of my elbow. He says, I don't take 30 cc's out of a knee, and I took 30 cc's out of your elbow. And I was like, well, we made it through, man, you know? So that was it. Then I went to TV like a day or two later in Vegas, and I walked in, they're like, yeah, you're not working. Just go relax somewhere.
So what ultimately was the case with the elbow?
I don't know. I mean, it healed, you know, whatever the hell it was.
Okay, so you let me ask you this. You go out the door of the WWF. You walk into the doors of WCW. You call them, they call you.
I was watching TV. I was watching wrestling, and I looked up at the screen, and I said, you know what? This is bullshit. I belong there, you know, meaning working. So I called Janie Engel.
Yep.
And she answered the phone anyway. I didn't know who she was then, you know, I told her who I was, and I said I was interested in coming in. So she said, okay. And I got a call from, I don't remember his name, and he said, you know, this is so-and-so. And I said, yes, I know who you are. And he said, we'd like to bring you in, and we'd like to make you a horseman. And I was at my gym at the time, and behind the counter. And I said, okay. He says, and, you know, this is what we're going to give you. And I said, okay. He goes, no, I don't think you understand. And I said, no, I understand. He goes, no, I don't think you do. See, we're going to make you a horseman, and this is what we're going to pay you. And you're good with it? And I said, yes, I'm good. Yeah, I don't think you quite understand. I said, I understand. because what they thought was they were giving me a little bit of money.
Right.
But being, like you, a businessman, I figured, because they told me, listen, you're only going to work like once or twice a month. But I knew if they were making me a horseman, I was going to be working more than once or twice a month. I had to be. So that money was going to compound, exponentially. So that's what I did. I went down there. Nobody knew. Dusty talked to me. It was an ultra kayfabe. When I walked into Atlanta, into whatever that building was, people looked like they saw a ghost when I walked through that door, man. And then I walked out to the stage, and Dusty looked at me, and I said, hey, Dust. He goes, Paul, Paul Roma. He goes, yeah, baby, come over here. Give me a hug. Give me some love. So I walked over, give him a big hug. He goes, Pretty Paul. You know what? That's what I'm going to call you. Pretty Paul Roma. And that's what he called me. Pretty Paul Roma.
So what was the deal with the Horseman? Some people said that you didn't fit in, or it was some people's take that you didn't like being a horseman. What was it? Because you just laid down 10 minutes ago a bunch of rules that say, we don't do this, we do this, we don't do that. And they kind of, I don't know, there's a bunch of rules being laid down there, what you do and you don't do. And I heard you on another interview say, like, hey, man, when the boss says, or the powers that be, we want you to be a horseman, what are you going to do? Say, no, I don't want to be a horseman. Hey, that's a pretty good gig. Or you're going to be the world champion. No, I don't want to be the world champion. So you get handed this gig. What are you supposed to do? Turn it down or say yes? Because you're looking to cross into a different promotion. So you're a horseman. Excited about it before you meet everybody, or you probably pass by them if they came through WWF. But what was the story on your first entrance in? Heat, no heat, ambivalent? They brought you in with open arms? What was the fucking story? Because I hear so many conflicting things.
Well, I mean, I went in there happy, going to be a horseman. Obviously, Dusty welcomed me with open arms. Ole Anderson grabbed me, pulled me in a little room and said, hey, listen, man, he goes, they told me that, you're a good worker. We want to put women in the seats. You're a good looking guy, you got a good body. So, I goes, I don't know. They say you're a good worker, but I've never seen you work. And right off the rip, I said to myself, you know what? I think this guy's full of shit. I mean, how could you bring somebody in? You don't know how he works. You've never seen him work. Come on, man. You pulling my chain, I'm saying to myself. So right off the bat, I'm like, okay, this guy's an asshole. I don't get along with him because he's already lying to me. I just got to assume that. Is it wrong to assume? Yeah, but you know what? Come on. You don't look at the product before you bring it in? I find that really hard to believe. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So now I go over, I put my tuxedo on, and they announce me, and obviously, these people don't want me. I'm from WWF. They don't want me. I don't fit down south, whatever. I don't give a shit what they want. I'm going out there, so I go. And Rick lays down this speech that was the best of the best. I mean, him and his mouth. He's phenomenal. And I come into the room, and they're all there, and I mean, it looked to be okay. And then afterwards, it seemed to be all right, especially with Arn. Arn took me in, with open arms, invited me to his home, which I thought was great. And but when he got around Rick, or Rick got around him, all three of us were together. It was a different story. It was a different picture. I started noticing when we went out, I started getting, more attention than Rick did, and I think that bothered him. I don't know, I mean, I could say whatever, what's the truth? I don't know. I just believe that to be. I just saw some, I don't know, jealousy, animosity. He's not the dog anymore. Got a young stud in town, you know what I mean? Definitely better looking than you, definitely better built than you, so now what? What do you do? How do you keep promoting you? So, like I said, Arn and I thought we got along just fine. Did we gel body-wise? No. We were frickin' frack, let's face it. We're definitely...
What was the feeling in WCW versus WWF? Just
laid back.
Laid back?
Laid back. Oh, yeah.
How
so? No stress. WWF, you're like high-intensity stress.
Well, everybody's bucking for a
no
spot.
stress.
Why then in WCW did you feel like no stress?
I don't know. I just didn't feel like, anybody was gunning for you. In WWF, you just, from the office people down, somebody's always looking to set someone else up. Get them to say something. Open up a spot for the new guy. It's always something going on. And WCW wasn't like that. You just sat there and, you played cards and everybody joked and got along. Yeah, it was just definitely different.
Was it because of guaranteed money, do you think? Because, when you came in WCW, when I came there in 92, 91, whenever I went over there, after I just broke into business for a year and a half in USWA, they called me up and talked to Dusty, and they brought you in for X amount of dollars the first year, and your second year you'd probably double that. And so, it was guaranteed money, but you still had to earn your spot on the card. In WWF, I mean, nothing was guaranteed, nothing, you just signed a contract, but that was it. So, right. I mean, dude, it was like the Wild West back then. I mean, dude, the higher you are on the card, the more money you can make. And so,
oh yeah,
I just think that breeds competition in and of itself, and you always want to try to get to the top. But maybe that was it, just because you still had to work for your spot. But
I could tell you one thing. I was in the ring with Brutus Beefcake when I first started out. We're doing TV, and I grabbed a headlock on him. And when he came back to the locker room, one of my buddies that I went up there with had said, come here, I want to tell you something. I said, what's up? He goes, Hogan just gave Beefcake a bunch of shit. And I said, what's that have to do with me? He goes, well, he was telling Beefcake he better get into the gym because you were making him look really bad in there. I'm like, oh, great. Just what I need, right? I need this guy to be pissed at me because, he looks like shit and I work out. Not my fault, but again, that's the problem. That guys were in WWF, they were gunning for your spot. They were worried about their spot. There were a bunch of insecure people, but not the old timers now. Not the old timers. The Fujis and the Harley races. They just weren't. Those guys weren't worried about their spots. It seemed more like the young guys. Always worried. It was crazy.
Then looking back at just the atmosphere of the locker rooms, which run did you prefer? What happened in WWF or what happened down there in WCW? Not according to your push, but just the atmosphere.
I think the WWF. You know why? Because it had to do with partners. I ran with Ray. I ran with SD Jones. You know what I mean? I had great runs as far as friendship runs with these people. Yeah, so when I went down to WCW, until I hooked up with Orndorff, when he walked up to me and said, hey, I did go to, he did, like he said, he comes up in my face like, hey, I think you're going to put us together. I'm like, oh, that's great. He goes, you like that? And I said, well, yeah. He goes, oh, I'm so glad that you told me you liked it. And I said, yeah, dude, are you kidding me? Me and you together? Absolutely. He goes, got to come up with a name for us. So I said, well, just give me a minute, man. Let me think, So he walks away, and all of a sudden he walks by me, and I go, holy shit, I got it, man. And so I go, come here, I got our name. He goes, what? I said, well, you're wonderful, right? Wonderful. He goes, yeah. And I'm Pretty Paul, right? He goes, yeah. I said, we're pretty wonderful. He goes, I love it. He goes, ooh, I love it. Let's go tell the agent now. So we ran in and told the agent, and that's the name we went with.
How'd you like hanging around Paul?
Oh, he's tremendous. He's aces, man. I love his hunting stories, just the family guy that he is, stand-up guy that he is. You hand them something, you don't have to worry about him, taking it from you. It's a rarity, man, when you find, the chosen few people that you could actually put your life, give them your life and say, will you take care of this for me? And it's going to be there when you get back.
Yeah, I agree with you, Paul. But that was Paul, stand-up guy. If Paul shook your hand and looked in the eye and told you something, that was it. End of story. That's how it was. Whether it's good, bad, and different. If Paul told you something, he would tell you to your face, and that's how it was. He was a total man of his word.
Yep. He sure was, man. He sure was.
All right, Paul, let me take a pause for the calls here, and we'll pick it back up right after this.
Hi, I'm author and director Mick Garris, inviting you to download my new podcast, Postmortem, to hear from the greatest filmmakers and creators of your worst nightmares. Check out new episodes every other Wednesday on PodcastOne.com, the Podcast One app, or subscribe on iTunes.
Steve Austin, Unleashed.
Hey, what was the deal? I was watching some of your stuff on YouTube. You got to give me the Alex Wright story. Because here's the thing, I'd been watching. I watched that match, and I remember that was one of the. He was part of the promo I cut when I went to ECW, and so I started watching a bunch of other guys have matches with him, and they were really trying to push this kid through the moon. And I saw the match you had with him, and was that the reason you got fired from WCW or not?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what was your attitude going to the ring?
Well,
let's just start off with the match instructions and how you took all this. What went down?
Okay, well, what led up to it? So the agreement that Ric Flair and I in the office had was that I would let this kid beat me all around, but teach him how to wrestle. And I said yes, but I'm not getting beat on pay-per-view. And they said absolutely not. Just all the house shows. We want you to teach this kid, get him over, because he's still green. And I said, not a problem. We'll set up the angle with you. I said, okay, great. I said, but no paper. I'm not doing job on a pay-per-view. And they said, not a problem. Not going to happen. So now pay-per-view comes up, and I go walking in thinking, okay, they're going to DQ me, something, interference. I don't know. So I walk up to the board, and I'm trying to see what match I'm on, and Rick comes over, and I say, hey, Rick, he goes, hey, Paul, I say, hey, how do you want us to do this? What do you want to do? And he said, oh, we need him over. And I went, excuse me? And he goes, yeah, we need him over. And I said, well, wait, Rick, we had an agreement. I wasn't going to job to this guy on TV. He goes, yeah, well, the office changed their mind. And I said, oh, the office changed their mind, huh? He goes, yeah. Okay, how do you want it? So he tells me. So I'm like, okay. So obviously I walk all the way out with attitude. I said, as soon as this kid gets in the ring, I'm just going to insult him for however long it takes. And when it comes down to a 3 count, I'm going to kick out on 2.5. They could do whatever they want. After that, I could give 2 shits. So, and that's probably the highest I ever jumped off a top rope to drop an elbow. Brother, I was up there. I was coming down saying, damn, I could eat a sandwich on the way down. I'm up here. I was just having a conversation, man. I really was.
Here's the thing, because I can't remember if I had to put him over or not. I probably did, but it was I probably got the same speech you got. But it wasn't his fault. Nice looking kid. I didn't know whatever happened to him. They wanted him to get over, but. It just seemed like he's probably a good kid, but I don't think anybody really likes selling for him, to be quite frank with you. And anyway, like I said, nice guy, but I didn't know him. I worked with him. And what happened when you went back to the dressing room?
Nothing. That's the thing. I walked back there. No one said a word to me. I went out to a restaurant with Paul, Janie Engel, myself, I think someone else was us, and a couple of the other guys. I think Rick may have been in the restaurant too. And Paul said, man, that was a hell of a match you had, blah, blah, blah. So I leave, I get home, and I get a call from Rick. And he said, hey, I don't think you want to wrestle anymore. And I said, what are you talking about? I don't want to wrestle anymore. He goes, well, that match you had. I said, I thought it was a damn good match, Rick. He goes, well, I didn't think so. I said, well, then you're the only one, because everybody I talked to thought it was great. All the boys thought it was a good match. He goes, well, I don't think you want to wrestle anymore. I said, Rick, I really don't give a fuck what you think. I said, so, end of conversation. I can see where this is going. So he had nothing else to say. Next, I get a FedEx package saying that they no longer need my services, finish out, the rest of your bookings, and that was it. Okay, fine. So then I make a call to Europe. They call me back. I become European champ. And they told me when I was in Europe, had Alex Wright beat you, you wouldn't be here. You would have just destroyed everything that you stood for, letting that kid get over on you. So, you know what? To this day, I have no regrets about that. And again, nothing against him. It was against the business. And it was to protect my ass.
Man, I tell you what, I've been in that spot a couple times, and they say, hey, man, we ain't going to beat you, or we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden on the big day, and, a couple hours before the match, hey, man, like I said, want the kid over. And it's like, hey, man, we had an agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the office, and the heat always goes to the office. And like, all right, you're in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, man. I'd been working down there in WCW, and I can't remember how long I'd been there. I was still pretty new in the business, but I was having pretty good matches. And I just got finished working a loop with Sting. Sting, Jesus Christ, man. He was one of the top guy. I was having great matches with Sting, and he was beating me every night. Then I was having great matches with Ricky Steamboat, and either he was beating me every night, or we were doing Broadways, whatever. But I was going toe-to-toe with these guys. And a lot of more Broadways, but I put a lot of them over, too, Sting and Steamboat. And then all of a sudden, hey, man, I want you to work a loop with Eric Watts. And so we start working Broadways with Eric Watts. And I'm thinking, okay, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, hey, man, we want you to put the kid over. I was like, man, I just got finished working some hellacious barn burners with Sting, Steamboat, and I was good enough to do Broadways with the kid, and now you really want me to put him over? Yep. And Grizzly Smith was giving me these instructions.
Well, I remember Grizz.
Yep. I said, Grizz, I ain't doing it. And he goes, well, Steve, why not? I said, I ain't. I said, man, I've been having these bust-ass matches with Sting and Steamboat, and I don't see myself getting beat by Eric Watts. And nothing against Eric Watts, but, he was just 6 months in the fucking business.
Yeah.
And, there comes a time, not in everyone's career, you're either going to get fucked on money, and you got to learn about money. You got to learn about the business. We keep going, trying to get this thing back to something that your students can take away from it. You got to learn the money game. You got to learn the political game, or how to play your cards, how to be a businessman. And then sometimes, as part of that businessman, is when to put your foot down, because, they told you that you weren't going to get beat. Then all of a sudden they pulled the rug out from you, and you got to do the favors. Well, all of a sudden that rug got pulled. It was only a spot show. It was a house show. But I said no. And the very next day, I think that show was on a Friday. The next business day was a Monday. And it got called right into Dusty's office, because once I refused, he put the call in. We did a Broadway, and that's when I got called in. He goes, Steve, why did you do that? And I told him, I said, hey, man, I said, I think I'm better than that. And he goes, this almost cost you your job. I said, well, I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way I feel. And anyway, they kept me on, and I didn't get fired. But I held my ground, and that was just one thing that I had to do at that time.
Yep. And you know what? And this is what I tell my students. I said, listen, I'll never ask you to stop being the person or the man that you are. But don't do anything, in that ring, to disgrace who and what you are. You got a problem with someone, take it outside. Don't do it in there, man. There's a place for everything. Live and die by the sword that you're wielding, because that's what I live by. The sword cuts both ways, but if you're good with the way it cuts you, then you could live with that. I can live with the decision that I made, as you made that decision, and who knows where it would have taken you had you done the job in that spot show. You don't know. You can't go back and relive it. But I know in my heart that it was the right move, and when these guys, my students, get in these independent shows, and I tell them, listen, man, you got to start thinking what's best for you. How many people are out there? 10, 20, and you're getting paid what? $10, $20? Is it worth $20 to get beat in 30 seconds by some jabroni? No, it's not. $20 isn't going to change your life. So start thinking along those lines. Where you are on the food chain. And I'll tell you something right now. I have guys, Steve, in my school that right now, hands down, can work for any organization. WWE, NXT, any of them. I mean, my heavyweight champ, Richard Holiday, Matthias Williams, House of Pain, Sergeant Murray, Big Jim. I got a rookie, this kid, RJ. You talk about the perfect kid coming up, he listens. And these kids are like my kids now. I watch them, and I'm this proud father when they have this phenomenal match, and my guys, I think I told you, my guys had a ladder match the last month. It was the best ladder match I've ever seen in my life. These guys can hang with the best of them, the absolute best of them.
Hey, man, so how long are you working with these kids? What's the course consist of? How do people find you or get into the school? What's the system?
Well, I mean, it's Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling. And I really remember the movie Paradise Alley?
Of course I do. Terry Funk was in it, among others.
Hell yeah. I kind of liked that thought pattern, when I had opened up the school. I thought it was just along those lines in my brain, so to speak. So, that's kind of how I looked at it. It was going to be old school, just teaching psychology and, don't take 100 bumps, take 3 or 4, that makes sense. We just landed 4 public access channels to get our show on TV, which is nice. So our website's under construction right now, but right now we have PAPW official Facebook is where it's at. So
how are you working with these kids, man?
In the beginning, probably we go over the holes and things like that 2-3 times a week. Then I start, bringing them in, putting things together, making them understand why you do this, that, and the other thing. Like I have a footprint, which is within the first minute, you got to figure nobody knows who you are. You have to tell the crowd without hand gestures, without swearing at them. You have to tell them who the babyface and who the heel is. And you basically have a minute to get that done.
What's up next for you, Paul?
I got to ask you something
Go
now.
ahead.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I want to know if you remember your famous tagline.
Shit, I can't remember. Was this a story you told me in the deer stand?
No, this is your favorite tagline.
What was it?
See what I did right there, kid?
Oh, yeah. Hey, before we shut this thing down, what was that story you told me? Because I think you thought I was disrespecting you. We was at a diner somewhere.
Dude,
we was on the road. What was that story?
Yeah. Listen,
give the
this
people
is
a story.
Classic story, man. This is what brought us back together. So I gotta tell it. So we went out to get something to eat, and we're in a restaurant, and there's you, me, and I can't remember. There were like 5 of us that were in the restaurant. So they bring our food up, and again, I got to put the details in. The background of me being, from Italian family, we always, when we get our food, we'll offer it to other people at the table. Would you like some? Would you like some? So me, being from that family, I look at you and I said, hey, Steve, would you like some steak? And without missing a beat, you looked at me serious, and you went, if I wanted some, I just take it. And I sat back and I went, shit, he just fucking disrespected me, man. I said, I offer him my food and he's going to take my food. I gotta fight this fucking guy. This ain't right. We gotta go. Now I gotta fight him. This is bullshit. And then somebody said something and you all started laughing. And it was obviously it was a joke, but I was like, holy shit, I got to fight this. I don't want to fight this fucking guy, but my thing is about respect, man. I was brought up that way, and here I offered my food, and you're just going to take it if you wanted it.
I didn't remember that story till you told me. I was just fucking with you. But the thing about it was, you're kind of a serious guy until you get to know somebody. Then you fuck around. You got a great sense of humor and all that. But like you said, you're all about respect, and so I was just fucking around with you. And it was funny when you told me that story because I remember it vividly. I'd forgotten it until you told me. But no, man, I was just fucking with you. I was glad we didn't start fighting about a steak.
Yeah, well, I found it out a few minutes or whatever it was, a minute later. But holy shit, what I went through in my brain, man. It's like, damn, oh, man, you know how much stress you put on me that day. All I wanted to do was eat my food, man. I had to sit there. I wasn't even cutting it. I stopped. I'm like, damn, all this shit's going through my head.
Man,
Oh,
I
my
immediately
God.
told you I was sitting in that deer stand, and I told you the story that happened because I always fuck around with people. And I was down in Tennessee in the USWA territory. I just gotten there, and someone told me, "Hey, man, call Soul Taker. I mean, call Punisher, Mark Calloway, Undertaker."
Right.
He'd been in the business about a year longer than I have, a year and a half. Y'all see if you can get a ride to the building with him. Fuck, you know how it is when you go to a new place. You don't know nobody. You're intimidated. You don't know the system. So I sheepishly called Mark Calloway until we started talking about getting a ride. Well, we were going to be both baby faces, but they had turned him heel or some kind of shit like that, so we couldn't ride together to the building. So I had to find a different ride. It was going to be a six-man tag match at night, and for sure, because we were on opposite sides of the ring. I said, "Okay, man." I said, "I'll find another ride." I said, "Just when we get out there in the ring," I said, "I'm gonna stretch you tonight. Talk to you later." Well, goddamn, six-man tag. It's me and Dutch, and I can't remember who was on our team, but there on the other side would end up being the Godfather, Punisher, and somebody else. Sure enough, me and Mark get in the ring. He had been on a couple tours to Japan. I was a fucking jabroni out of fucking Chris Adams wrestling school. Knew how to take a flat back bump, and that was about it. Didn't know no sugar holes, didn't know no shoot wrestling, didn't know a goddamn thing. So because I had disrespected the Undertaker, he perceived me as smarting off to him, proceeds to put me in a couple of Japanese shoot holes. You know he's a big MMA fan to begin with. And this is back in 1990, and this motherfucker's got me in some kind of hold, and I'm just laying there. And dude, it's Evansville, Indiana. I remember like it was yesterday, and I'm sitting there. He wasn't hurting me, but he was just letting me know that he had me. And so I was just sitting there, goddamn, finally he tagged out, and I tagged out, and Dutch Mantel was on the corner. I was on the other corner. Other guy was working in the ring, and he looked at me. It was in front of about, 75 people. He goes, "What was that all about?" I said, "I don't know." So, sure enough, they ribbed me again. He says, "When you get in there, go pick up Soul Taker, Godfather, and give him a body slam." So I'm like the idiot kid on the playground, right? Tell him to go do something, he does it. So all of a sudden, me and Soul Taker / Godfather in the ring, hell, I pick him up and slam him. He said, we get through the match. He comes up to me in the dressing room. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "if you're going to come in there and give me a slam," he goes, "either let me call it or tell me you're going to give it to me." So I'd really pissed him off by picking his big ass up and slammed him. So we had Willie had to come to Jesus meeting with me because I didn't fucking know. So, goddamn it, but you and me got crossways on that steak, but I was just fucking with you. But anyway, goddamn it. I'm gonna ride. I gotta go get my ass in the gym. Hey, let me ask you a question. You were talking about bodybuilding earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had competed.
Yeah.
I know you. Obviously, you were born with great genetics. What are you doing right now with your training? And how's your body feel after all the years in the business? You lasted about 14 years, give or take, about the same I did.
Well, I got 2 knees replaced.
No shit.
I got, full replacements. My elbows, like yours, are all messed up. Lower back shot, neck's still messed up. But I can still move, man. Hey, listen, speaking of moving, why don't you bring some old-ass, over-the-hill wrestlers on your damn show, like me? I'll be 58 in April. I'm ready to tear someone's ass up. Come on, man.
You done with a Broken Skull Challenge?
Sure. Figure something out,
dude,
man. I'm good to go, dude.
Dude, we had a guy out there. I think he was 56, 57. I can't remember. But, I mean, that guy came out there and ripped some ass. And he was
Yeah,
impressive.
but he has all his body parts.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. I didn't know that you had both knees replaced.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, on a pain scale, 0 being pain-free, 10 being like shit, where are you at on the pain scale as far as everyday life?
Wow. You know what? I'm good. I guess because I got so used to, I'm at a comfort zone. So before, I'd say, "Oh, how are you doing today?" I'm like 8. Now it's different. Now, I guess because I'm so used to 8, I feel great.
Yeah.
That's screwed up, right? That's pretty fucked up. But, that's how it is. Maybe it's because of my young wife. I don't know. She keeps me young.
Hey, man, I never knew you to be one to have any drinks or just even being into pills or nothing. What was the store for you? Because you kind of ran solo.
Yeah, no, I didn't drink, smoke.
Was that because of your
drugs.
bodybuilding background, or you just
No, I just
who you were?
Longevity. I hate to get into that body's a temple thing, but I mean, and that's why I think, not toot my own horn, but I think that's why I look so damn good today, and I can still get in the ring and run it.
Yeah, people with good genetics, it always piss me off.
Well,
don't get me wrong, and don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting all the hard work you put in the gym, because you can have good genetics and not look like $1 million if you just sit on your ass. So obviously you put in the work, but like you could probably eat a dozen glazed donuts and not pay for it the same way I am. It goes straight to my waist and goes straight to your jacks. That's fucked up.
Hey, listen, my wife hates it too, but at the end of the day, I do try to. I'm getting older, man. I try to stay in good shape. That's it. That's my thing. I got a bunch of young kids into school, and if I got to slap the shit out of somebody, which I never had to, I will. But when I hit that ring, when they're pissing me off, they clear out like cockroaches with the lights turned on. Because they know the shit is on. I'm going to hurt somebody.
All right, goddammit. If I ever come down that neck of the woods, I'll stop by the school and I'll bring you a steak dinner on me.
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to offer you it if you give it to me.
Hey, let's ride off into the sunset. Paulie, you on Twitter or anything?
Yeah, mostly Facebook. I got a Twitter account, but I hardly ever go on it.
Drop that Facebook account one more time for the listeners or anybody that's interested in the school.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, we're the number one, all joking aside, right now in the Northeast, we're the number one independent wrestling organization. We run shows every month, and they're always for a charity, which is great. It's just PAPW official Facebook. So if they look up that, they'll be fine. And once we get our website up, we'll put it on there. But yeah, good stuff, man. You know what? It's great catching up with you. It seems like, honestly, I haven't spoken to you in a month. It doesn't even seem like, all these years have gone by.
Well, I know it, but it was just like getting that email from your student. It's like, yeah, man, me and Paul are always cool. And just like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we don't call each other all the time, but it's just always good to hook up with someone. We're always cool. We worked in the ring. We had fun. We fucking had good matches, and it just is what it is. So the real guys are the real guys. It was good talking to you, man.
You too.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset and get ready to go over 316 Gimmon Street and get my swell on. Get out there on my little power rack, and today I am training back. The kid is on the comeback trail. Hey, but before I get out there and get my workout on, I want to thank Paul Roma for being my guest on today's show. It was fun catching up with him. I want to give you guys something to watch. And I was looking for a Power and Glory match or something. And all of a sudden, man, I stumbled on some old AWA stuff. And I found one for you that's a gem. It's a barn burner of a match filmed in 1986 at the Showboat Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. And, man, this is a match with the Midnight Rockers versus Buddy Rose and Doug Summers, 9/2/1986. Holy shit, I don't know how long Sean and Marty Jannetty had been together at this point, but you talk about a hell of a tag team. And Buddy Rose and Doug Summers were so underrated, it was unbelievable. But, man, they got this crowd going. Hellacious performance. Watch the salesmanship of both teams. Watch the heel tactics of Buddy Rose and Doug Summers, two really, really good heels. And watch the Midnight Rockers do their thing. Anyway, Paul Roma's not involved in that match, but in the process of looking for a match, that's the one I stumbled across, so check it out. All right, I've said it once, I've said it before. ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin has a bunch of new T-shirts. New shirts that were just released on ProWrestlingTees.com. And they're all the ones I wore to film the latest episode of the Broken Skull Challenge. And my beer, Broken Skull IPA, is available all over California at Whole Foods and Total Wines. If you don't live here, check InsideTheCellar.com to see if they ship to your state. And I appreciate you guys supporting sponsors of Steve Austin Podcast, because the other ones let me do this for you free twice a week. So big thanks to DDP Yoga. Get 25% off the DDP Yoga DVDs and all DDPY merch at ddpyoga.com/Austin. And, of course, to Amazon, who have been supporting this podcast since episode number 1. And Amazon is the best place to get the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife. Just $75 for the most badass pocket knife on the planet. And if you order the Broken Skull Cold Steel knife through my Amazon links, Amazon will kick back a couple of bucks to the podcast, and it does not cost you anything extra, no hidden fees or charges. Buy whatever you was planning on buying and help out the podcast in the process. And you can find my Amazon links by going to podcast1.com, clicking on the Killer Deals button in the top right corner of the page, and then hitting the Steve Austin Show button. I got Amazon links for USA, UK, and Canada. So anyway, bookmark it. You can find it easier. Hey, coming up next week, Broken Skull Challenge champion Hunter McIntyre is my guest. Damn, what an interesting conversation this turned out to be. And hey, keep listening. The 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of Steve Austin Unleashed every Thursday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
The Angry President. I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. We've learned that President Trump was seething when he fired FBI Director James Comey. He felt Comey let the FBI's Russia investigation play out in the press, we're told. Former Trump campaign advisor Roger Stone tells the Today Show this morning the Trump presidential campaign did not collude with Moscow.
The idea of Russian collusion is a canard. It's a falsehood.
Earlier on the Today Show, White House Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked about a line in the president's termination letter to Comey that read, "I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation." Some have called that statement into question. Sanders was asked about it.
Look, I'm not sure on the reasoning behind that exact part being in there, but I do know I spoke to the president directly, and he said that those moments and conversations did take place.
I'm Rita Foley.